Chrissy, they're talking about how we're seeing evidence in markets of changing expectations around whether we get a Trump presidency and also whether we get some kind of red sweep in Washington. Do you see those trades evidenced in the market? I mean, the dollar seems like the obvious one.
Yeah, very much so. That's the dynamic here, though. I think it reflects a lot more about kind of position pairing because of the uncertainty rather than a real change of expectations. Talking to analyst traders over this weekend, I've tried, I was away on holiday last week. I've come back and tried to poll as many people as possible what their kind of expectation is. Most people are positioned for a Trump victory, but very tentatively positioned for it. So there tends to be a bias in the market, and we've seen that as positioning in the last few weeks, that Trump is likely to win. But people acknowledge that polls seem to be second-guessing themselves. There's much more questioning of whether they've potentially overcompensated or undercompensated for problems in getting the correct polling sample in the last two elections. And because of that, people do not have high risk exposure and do not want high risk exposure going to the election. So I think the dynamic that we've seen over the last couple of sessions is more about just paring back a bit of risk rather than suddenly swiveling to think that Harris has a much greater chance.
When do we start to see the big direction? What will it take? How high is the bar? When are these investors going to be looking to deploy money into the market? I'm really curious about how they see this week evolving.
I think that for all the hedge fund guys, they're going to be acting about lunchtime Wednesday. By about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Hong Kong, Singapore time, we'll get enough input from key swing states to know whether the polling adjustments have undercorrected, overcorrected, or whether they're in line. And that means that people with the most accurate models by around that time on Wednesday should have, that's 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. Wednesday in Hong Kong, will know roughly whether their models are correct or they can adjust them and have a good confidence in the result. And there's an expectation from many people in the market that unless it is truly very close, that we'll know which way the result's going to be by lunchtime Wednesday in Asia. That does not mean the official result gets announced then. Remember, 4 years ago, we all knew what was going to happen again by about Wednesday afternoon in Asia, but the official result didn't come through for a few days later. So I think from that moment onwards, we'll start seeing traders react. I think that the conviction is around Trump trades, and that's because Trump is a change of the status quo, much more so than Kamala Harris, who is obviously vice president of the current administration. So that's where the much more aggressive action will happen, that if Trump wins, people really, really want to buy the dollar. That is seen as the cleanest trade apart from crypto. I think dollar yen, dollar MEX, dollar CNH will react really, really aggressively on Wednesday if Trump looks like he's winning, which we should know either way by Wednesday lunchtime.